Hi, I'm Paige Ross, and today I want to discuss linguistic and cultural trajection, trajectory. That's okay. We all mess up sometimes on when we're trying to speak, and that's actually what I was going to get into. So today I wanted to discuss first and foremost my own linguistic and cultural identity, and then I'm gonna discuss um, different ways in which like we've seen this through our curriculum, and then why I've chosen this space as a reflective space. So first and foremost, I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood on the north side of it. It's a more diverse town. It's Oak Park, Illinois. It's a diverse town, and my high school is very diverse, but in my elementary school, it was quite I was it just was not diverse in that way. It was mostly white kids, and because of that, I wasn't really introduced to different cultures or different ways of looking at things or just different ethnicities in general. And because of that, I feel as though I was at a disadvantage for learning. I was at a disadvantage for my social interactions. Um, but in terms of reading and writing, I was around people who looked like me, spoke like me. I didn't have much of an issue trying to learn Spanish when we were integrated into different languages in elementary school and middle school and high school. I was able to become comfortable because I didn't feel as though people were judging me. Um, and I later learned that wasn't really about who was around me, it was more about myself. Um, but my father was, or he was born in South Africa, so the only language I really knew other than English was Afrikaans. And I don't even know that much about Afrikaans. I know how to say I love you very much, which would be Ek is bij lief vir jou, but that's about all I know. And I say that to my mom and my dad all the time. There are certain uh, mannerisms or characteristics in my speech that may indicate I have um, a family member from a different country who may have migrated over. Uh, for instance, I say mum instead of mom. If you can tell the difference, I'm not completely sure. Most people make fun of me when I do. Uh, and then rather than saying theater, I say theater because that's how my father had always pronounced it, and I wasn't even aware that I was saying it differently than everyone else until I got to college, which was quite interesting to me. And then, in terms of being immersed in different cultures, I had really only heard Afrikaans and Spanish and maybe a little bit of French. But besides those three, I only knew English, and that's still to this day the only language that I'm fluent in. I'm not even able to carry on a conversation in Spanish, even though I took it for almost 12 years. Um, and so from this, I want to move into uh, different references from the text in which I feel pertain to this specific subject. So, in in the documentary about writing across borders, I had chosen a couple quotes. We did a forum on this, so I chose a couple quotes through my own forum that I wanted to touch on for this video. Um, so for the first one, it was for students of other cultures and rhetorical traditions, the values and expectations of writing, American writing, are different and anything but natural. And I couldn't agree more. I don't think that American writing for papers, curriculum analysis, rhetorical analysis really flow as naturally as some other cultures do. And because of that, uh, I think that um, it is harder to learn and uh, can be harder to meet standards in American writing because it is so unnatural. Um, And then also, uh, it excludes so many different ways of writing because it is so specific. Um, Such as here, I have another quote that I wanted to. Here in America, I've noticed that the writing professors want short, concrete, understandable sentences, whereas like most other countries really write for um, like for pleasure because they want to elaborate and be poetic and it's more about the enjoyment, whereas for American writing it is more about um, like getting somewhere, getting something out of it, and I think that's silly in my opinion. I love reading, I love writing. um, I don't think there's always something that you need to get out of it. I think it can just be something beautiful and enjoyable. um, and so then another quote I wanted to touch on was, they just think that the American way is the only way. And I agree, Americans are quite self centered and they think that they are the only way. Um, you can see that in multiple forms of both writing, just propaganda, like USA. Um, and so, in order to stop excluding those of other cultural and linguistic backgrounds, we need to be more open and uh, help those who help and reflect with those who may not have the same background and privilege as we do. Um, and then going from that, I wanted to touch on why I chose this reflective um, genre for this project. And I felt as though, because there are so many different ways in order to do this project, I thought it'd be best to be able to see me and just really understand where I'm coming from. My writing can be quite American, really. Um, it's it's more about the big words or just what I can get across in like a short amount of time. And I felt as though if I were to have a more natural approach, like talking about it, it would kind of, sorry, what's the word? Um, it would cater to those who may not be able to um, really understand what, say, like tumultuous is. Like, if I were from a different country and I heard the word tumultuous and I had never really spoken much English before, I'd be like, what does that even mean? And I would have to then learn the words that um, say describe that or the definition of that, and I may not even know those words yet. So then I'd have to go back to my own language and learn what the definition would be in my own language, and then find another word for tumultuous in my language. And so, because I think that's so difficult, I wanted to really create this natural environment. Um, and then for my personal account, I feel as though I was privileged, but I wish I had been experiencing different cultures throughout my whole life rather than just starting around middle school. And I mean, as grateful as I am for the opportunities I've been given, I feel as though it's unfair how, because other people may not have my background or my privilege, that uh, they may not get the same opportunities as I do. And I think if you're working hard and your work ethic is both successful and driven, that you should get the same opportunities. And um, something you may not be able to control should not deem whether you are worthy of a position or something of the sorts. And with that being said, I wanted to conclude this by saying, no matter where you come from and what you may want to do, uh, don't adhere to those stereotypes that you just can't do it. Like, keep working hard and you'll be able to get there at the right time.